in the first game here as well. That got Brown to the very last ban from RNG. His first pick Azir, the Fisher, even over something like the Neeko, which he's very, very proficient at. Especially at the LDL level, it was arguably his best champion, so letting that one by.
Yeah, definitely letting himself kind of get into that one there, but that means you're leaving open Varus Renata here, and I feel like that's just a strong combo, such a strong combo from RNG, unless they feel like they have a counter.
I think it probably should just be the Varus Renata, right? The problem, what I had with this in game one was they locked in the Nocturne first pick, which meant that they were tied between two combos. They could either finish their Nocturne Orianna combo or get themselves the Varus Renata, or like the Kalista Renata. Now, in this one, they haven't hamstrung themselves as much. Now, I just hope they block in the other thing there, but instead, they're not even going to do that. Block themselves their jungler. Potentially allowing over Renata lane to go over to the side of leaving Vampire instead. And again, this pick has been so important in today's games and, of course, worldwide.
Again, Vampire, very, very little information on them. This could be a champion pool issue. This could be a thing of RNG saying, we know you don't play this. We know this isn't something that we need to prioritize.
That's true. They did pass it up, yeah.
And they're calling them out right now. Do EDG take the bait or not? That is the question. Or if RNG's research is sound, then you're into a bit of a more interesting combination of picks towards the last few.
On the other side too, Wei has always been very comfortable on the Vi when they went on their MSI winning stint, which was, of course, when it was the Wei and Xiao who line up. That was the Vi RE combo meta. On the other side, EDG returns! Jiejie once again going back towards that Maokai. We're just never getting rid of that champion for him. He's just going to play that until that thing is but kindling. And this one was a bit of a problem in game one. Now, they don't necessarily have to draft themselves into such a one-trick pony kind of team in terms of the playbook. Maybe they can have themselves an answer to the ally. It's not just a last-pick Jax that knows the entire composition, but Ala's feeling it, locks it in blind.
I mean, don't fix what's not broken. I feel like that's something that EDG are going to be very much relying on, considering they have such a new combination of players.
Okay, so this is the accepted answer into Jax now. When you had Divine Sundra, Jax could sustain through a lot of what KSante did and had scaling penetration into the game because the more items you got up, the more percent pen that Divine Sundra would give you. It was mixed pen too, so it would give you lots of options there. Now the problem is, once you hit Hollow Radiance and Frozen Heart from the KSante, even though Jax is mixed damage, your attack speed is so low and it's such a cheap item combo too. KSante can really nullify what Jax wants to do. You don't get free laning phases against him at that point. Breathe, of course, as much as the last game was very much about Ala, Breathe is one of our very best top laners when he's on form in a decent matchup. I think that's a good answer from RNG.
Absolutely, and I like that EDG are now using the fact that they've got the Azir. Cool, let's ban away some of the more annoying things. I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see a LeBlanc being taken away. We'll see what the last ban is from RNG. They have targeted Vampire's Bard for the moment. Took a while to get going, but once it did, it seemed very, very effective, and that's something that RNG just don't want to deal with anymore.
And then looking across the map too, you know, there's no Neeko ban just yet. The Milio has now been banned away too. One of the follow-on effects from what's happened with this Jax pick third is that you want to lock in the accepted answer to the Jax, which means that you can't lock in the Renata for your Varus Renata instantly on 3. I think EDG kind of gave RNG too many champions that they really wanted to work towards, but instead EDG, they're banning out mid laners instead. They could have banned out something like that Renata, which of course has been so powerful throughout this series. Tangyuan hovering over that Akali. It has been a good matchup, particularly in the LPL and the LCK into the Azir. Else places it can kind of struggle. But after a game where Fisher was actually quite fairly impactful, very good at keeping himself safe, he's going to have to keep himself safe against an Akali who is very strong in the current meta. As soon as you hit one item, that Akali has huge kill threat.
Oh yeah, for sure, the Akali, and it's so slippery as well. Like, you really do need point-and-click CC, which you do have on the side of EDG, but it's not that easy to get through the shrouds, through the dashes, through the shuriken flips, everything like that. But a Jhin, Neeko locked in here for EDG. They're saying, look, we're going to keep this kind of top side going. We want to get the bot lane going with a little bit more spice.
And the burst damage alongside the CC combo from Jhin Neeko is really, really nasty.
Yes.
Problem is, Neeko as a support is very squishy. If you walk up to a Varus in this case, if you do lock in something a bit more bursty like that Karma, or, well, let's be honest, any support that can turn the fight around on you, things are going to get very, very risky for you. Hovering between a couple of different options, the Nautilus or the Karma.
Classic.
It's a Ming classic. Now, suddenly if you walk forward as the Neeko, trying to look for a route, or you're hiding as a minion or something like that, if the hook lands on you, that burst combo gets turned around very, very quickly.
Yes, it is. Just, again, another little thing you have to keep an eye on for these things where it's just, Do you get hooked? How many minions are in the other side? Do you have enough damage to actually take someone out who isn't just a straight up squishy? These are now the questions that EDG are going to be asking themselves before they even look for an engage into RNG.
And this is RNG's composition, very typical of what we've seen in the last few years in regards to the Vi and the Nautilus comboing up onto a single target that can potentially be out of position, and having someone like the Akali and Varus flying over the top. The KSante is looking to potentially block out the Maokai ult as well with the W. That would be very, very important. But once again, we have this issue of it feels like there are more carries on the side of EDG because you have the Jax in the top lane. The KSante can be disruptive. He can do a lot of damage. Jax will solo your entire team if he gets late game enough and has the right positioning. It's just not the same degree of threat. So some similarities from the last game. Feels like RNG are the ones which have changed things up a little bit more.
Absolutely. And I love that you bring up that RNG have changed up a little bit because they've changed how many things they have to deal with certain issues. They don't just have a one-and-done combination. They have got the KSante, the Vi, the Nautilus, things that can make opportunities for themselves. EDG sticking to what's working for them, sticking to what's worked in the first game, and sticking to what could potentially send them to the top of the table with a 2-0.
Of course, first game of the day was a 2-1, so you end up getting a clean sweep here. Even if it's a short-lived victory, you will see yourself on that lofty perch at the top of the table.
We take those, as anyone will tell you. Mainly eye crystallization. If EDG's at the top of the table by the end of the day, they're a happy bunny. That's all that matters. EDG fans will be happy everywhere. But we shall hypothesize no longer. We shall theorize no more, and we will jump into the Rift for game number 2, potentially our final game of the day, as everyone on EDG finds themselves in the bot side. They're now moving in on top of LWX and Ming, but a hail of arrows will slow them down, and we will not see any more shenanigans.
Oh my god, his DPM right now must be absolutely through the roof. It's like a 4-person hail of arrows. Wow, incredible. But yeah, you know, if EDG were to take this game here, they'd be closing the gap in their all-time record against RNG. Remember, before this series today, they had played 132 games against each other, and the record was 71-61 in the favor of RNG. So we go up to 71-63. It's an incredibly well-trodden matchup across the halls of time. EDG had a really strong start, though, in game 1. It felt like as soon as they got Ala up to a decent lead, RNG had no options left. They would like to give themselves a few more coming into this. Jhin, Neeko, we've seen the Neeko support a couple of times. I think PCS might have played a game of it. I can't remember where else played. I've definitely seen it once or twice around that. And then LCK challenges as well. Watch out to see where those hooks land, though. These are two squishy laners.
Very, very squishy laners, but they have a hell of a lot of burst. That's the way it always works. You're trading off the survivability for the killability of the enemy champions. But this time around, we talked about the Ala, having so much power in that last game. But now they have ways of disengaging. They have ways of getting him off of their carries. You've got the Nautilus to be able to hook him back. The KSante all out can straight up just eliminate him from a fight. And even the Vi as well can kind of delay with the Vault Breaker and the Cease and Desist. So these are things that can work in your favor for RNG that you have at your disposal compared to last game.
I'm really interested to see later into the game. Of course, early game, these lanes, they're not so much the level 1 domination, kind of into snowball style that we saw in the first series today. But later into the game, I'm very interested to see which direction the fights go, because you're going to have a Vi that's going one way, which typically can close the distance, maybe onto the Azir and the Jhin. But then if you're running forward as EDG, you also have the Maokai ult to kind of screen your offensive as well with the Jhin ultimate opening up. I think that's going to determine the tail of a lot of this game. I feel like RNG, if they manage to go forward foot enough and get onto the carries, that'll be like the break point for them. But if they can't successfully do that before the Maokai ult and of course the Neeko in this case too, get value, I think RNG could have a couple of issues.
And I expect a very slow early game. Both these teams pretty much only a kill each about 15 minutes into the game. Maybe a little less, actually. Maybe,
it's not quite the first series of the day, first blood in the jungle level 4 each game.
I just got excited, okay? I get excited.
We're allowed to say that in this region. We're not LCK.
We are not LCK. No, they're world champions. We're definitely not LCK. It still hurts, man.
Why do you have to keep mentioning that?
Because I talk a lot of smack, and if you're gonna talk a lot of smack, you gotta be able to take the L's as well. All right. You have to respect them, all right? You got to feel the respect. It just makes it that much sweeter when you talk smack and then you win. Then you win, because I'm going to talk smack again when we win MSI.
See them at MSI.
We're the kings of MSI. We're going to win MSI, and then it's going to go to Worlds, and it'll be overhyped again, and then Atlas and Chronicler will just say, no, it's not going to go that way, and then T1 win Worlds. That's just how it goes, and we repeat into 2025.
This should take you some great trades in this mid lane, though. He's gone for the Conqueror this time, not for the Fleet. We did see the Fleet in all of our other Azir games before this, but particularly when you're trying to dip in and out and look for those auto ranges things, if you're ever stood within those soldiers, then the Conqueror is so good early game. Basically trying to put down as much hurt as possible. He's really being effective at that. The Doran Shield is doing a good job of at least keeping them alive for now, but it's not keeping him much more than that. The HP is above 0. Not getting many more luxury points after that.
Yeah, not really. And now we're seeing a bit of a trade up on the top side. Breathe down to about a quarter of his HP, but big thing I was looking at more so anything else, the mana. No mana for Breathe makes those trades a lot harder. He has a great combination to deal with the Jax.
Does have some cookies for the road. He's been visited by the local Girl Scouts, and they've applied their wares up there. I think it was, so I was speaking with Aragon actually about this a while ago, because Aragon is a master of rune choices and itemization in top lane as a former pro player top laner himself. And he was basically saying the identity of cookies is not necessarily a sustain item, it's an all-in item because it can give you that instant burst of HP depending on how low your HP is as well. Particularly with that mana, it can give you that turnaround potential. We'll see where the twists and turns go on this bot side as Dragon has been started up by Wei, particularly because the bot lane's got the push, gives them the easiest access towards this Dragon. Looks like that one will go down uncontested, though on Vision currently.
Uncontested on Vision, which means the Kevins will be traded back on top of this one here. So Jiejie in a great position to be able to kind of just drop down a Bramble Smash and then Smite, you would imagine, shouldn't be too much harder. That's going to be a 3 for none trade. Obviously the Dragon is still very good for RNG. And again, in terms of single Dragon stats, Infernal's pretty damn good.
That it is. It's a nice one to get the hold of. Jiejie will clear through that objective on the top side of the map. Once again, we'll have ourselves a trade between these two teams in the early game. I mean, we've got a little bit of a gold lead coming through from the side of EDG from a plate taken top side. A little bit of farm, which will be evened out, I assume, in the next wave or two. Have to see now, really, how RNG look to set off onto a front foot. As soon as Akali hits one item, I think that's a really big go button for them. Level 6 is also not a bad mark as well.
He is waiting around. He doesn't know there's no vision in that tri-bush, but he just wants them to step forward just a little bit.
Jiejie is spotting a ward, but doesn't spot Wei.
They haven't spotted Wei. Now they know he's here, and we're going to see now Vampire getting flashed in, queued down. He's going to try and flash, but you're already dead. And that is a great first blood here for RNG.
It is a bad day to be a creature of the night for first blood. Vampire gets first blood in both games now. Welcome to the LPL, buddy.
For 100% first blood participation.
But 100% win rate.
We'll swap it to be positive. That's how this works.
Oh my gosh. Ming was hanging around.
I'm a glass half full kind of guy, you know?
I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to expand on that one. The Vampire goes down for that one. Well played by Wei. Of course, wins the mind game as well of seeing if Vampire could alley-oop with a flash over the Vault Breaker. Not going to be the case, and Wei off to a fine stop on one of his best champions too.
Yes, absolutely. Do see Tangyuan looking for a little bit of a roam while he had a moment or two, but was spotted out on a ward that was sitting there into the Rift Pit, or Void Pit. I think we should just call it the Void Pit now. There's many Void creatures in there.
That sounds like a rock club venue. The Void Pit. No, I would have seen like early Bring Me the Horizon there or some things. Like, Bring Me the Horizon, live at the Void Pit.
Yeah, for sure. But again, just kind of seeing where they want to go with this one here. Good early pressure in the bot side again by RNG, but didn't lead to much last time. And this is something that we always have to look at with teams, is that yes, you get kills, yes, you get yourself a little bit of gold, but the best teams will take a kill and turn it into something else. They'll turn into plates, into an objective, into something that leads to that little bit more of an advantage.
That's very interesting, but all I can think of is that most rock concert venues have sticky floors, and that's one of the worst things about them. So one of the things, so I grew up around Nottingham in the UK. There's a place called Rock City.
Okay, it's story time, I guess.
So they had, their venue was not very well cleaned, to the point when they finally redid the flooring, they cut it up and sold off like meters of the famous Rock City sticky floor.
Ew.
Yeah, not my favorite. No. It kind of gives you like a grounded effect, like singed the...
I like how you tried to bring it back. You know what?
I think I failed.
I'll give you A for effort. I don't know an execution, but I'll definitely give you A for effort for trying to bring it back like that. But obviously, the game is in a bit of a lull state. The game is not really going to be having much else to happen from it, just because of the way the teams have set themselves up. Jiejie doesn't really have much to go on his bot side unless Vampire, could get a flash engage, but that's just not going to happen.
We saw Ming protecting that pink ward in the tri-brush, and I think that's important now, actually, because Jiejie with ult can go through tri-brush and potentially cut off LWX and Ming from their tower, and that would have been an aggressive angle. Much easier for Maokai to gank red side, bot side nowadays. Much easier for most jungles to gank red side, bot side nowadays. But as you predicted, I think you're correct on this one, it has been much slower of a game. We're going to have Void Grubs respawning in the next 20 seconds, see if EDG can get themselves up to 5 and get themselves the mites at that point. All out, and top side will give Breed a bit of a laning advantage for that spawn.
I feel like he felt like he was closer to the wall there. I feel like he maybe thought I'd be able to get him away, so he'd blow the flash or something, because I just don't see how you're ever going to be able to kill him there. But Ala will go back, get himself a reset, go in TP, he'll lose maybe 2 minions.
Well, I think what Breathe was looking to do was get a heavy enough trade to force ult for ult or a flash, so that meant that Ala was in less of a position to, I would say, you know, contest these Void Grubs. I don't think they were going to anyway, which makes the decision even more questionable from Breathe. I guess he's just maybe just making sure that he can get that wave crashed in so he can get himself back into lane without it being frozen away from his turret.
Yep, we see a curtain call come out now on the bot side. Is gotta be able to shoot those minions up as best you can. Wei is around the corner, but I don't know if they can really make this one fully work out. They're going to go for it regardless. There's going to be the TP, but they've already fully committed both ultimates. They're not going to have the burst available. Straight away, Wei backing himself out. They do have LWX getting caught, though. They're waiting for the flash, and there it is. Really good trigger discipline there from Fisher, but he may have already sacrificed his life just to make it happen. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, but the Void Grubs were traded as an objective, so EDG still coming out on top. They now have 6 for themselves.
Really good trigger discipline from Fisher to wait for the W to force the flash first. First item, not completed yet for Tangyuan, but he's still got a decent amount of damage, even with just hitting that E. That Shuriken backflip does so much damage from Akali. So, 6 Void Grubs. The Kevins, the Ed and Eddies, the Voids of creatures of many different names.
Whatever 3-name acronym you want to go with.
It's going to be like, you know how in like Game of Thrones they have to say all of their titles? Like King of the First Man and the Andals and the Seven Kingdom. I feel like it's going to become like that eventually if we rack up enough names.
So we could be true, but we could do an LCK on it, and we could go, there's the first Kevins, and then there's the second Eddies.
You know, so I had another suggestion on this too, where you just call them... Wait, what's this? What are we doing here?
This is a replay, I believe, that we're looking at that doesn't seem to be kind of going anywhere else from it, or we've lost complete control over the observer feed. Yeah, they did lose complete control.
Nice. Anyway, as I was saying, most
the trials and tribulations of life.
So my brother gave me a suggestion, which is you call the first Grubs Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, and the second one Totodile, Chikorita, and Cyndaquil.
I would love to do that, but that is a different IP.
It is, and it gets a little bit nussy with that.
You can't be doing that now, unfortunately. You can't be having that situation, but Breed getting jumped on here by Ala, who's starting to feel a bit more comfortable in this matchup as we... there will be an internal Twitter, Reddit debate about what these grubs are called. We are what vessels for their
I figure if
decision.
I just come up with a different name each game, something will be funny enough for me to stick with it.
Kevin's is one, man.
The Kevin agenda is really
The Kevin
powerful.
agenda is very powerful.
Kevin,
I kind of want
that would be
Eddies.
the Kevin agenda is a great name for a band as well. That'd be like, you know, like the Jimi Hendrix Experience,
Yes.
Jefferson Airplane, the Kevin agenda, completely in place.
Yeah, it would, but I do. Again, they've got a lot of fans. They've got a lot of people pushing for that. So, and I can't blame them. They're.
I never knew that the Kevin, you know,
it has to reference something.
I think. As far as I'm aware, it's literally just because pro players have started calling them Kevins because they didn't want to, you know, learn the new names.
Grubs. I just feel like Grubs is not that hard. It's not that big of a deal, but I mean, fair enough.
Apparently it is.
Apparently it is for me. So I don't know. It's always a fun time when you're able to get a new thing out and try and name it, like Boris the Shopkeeper.
God, this is a slow game if we're talking about this, huh?
Of course it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a million people wishing that we would talk about the game, but what would you like us to talk about when there's literally nothing happening?
I have one thing to add to this. First items are completed, and particularly importantly so, First item for Tangyuan, Storm Surge. If you don't have to build mana items in mid lane, you feel really good right now because your options are so strong. I mean, Azir's on this kind of list as well. He doesn't have to build Lost Chapter items. He goes straight towards the Nash's Tooth. But, you know, Storm Surge, Lich Bane, and Protobelt, all very strong. So one of the reasons why Fizz is very strong in solo queue, he just builds all of the AP assassin-y kind of items that he wants, and you don't even need to snowball at that point. The first item is such a strong point for you.
Yeah, Allah is going the wrong way right now, so he is going to be caught out. Breathe will get himself the Ghost. Will buffer that little bit of CC, but can Breathe get the all out? Yes, he can. Allah gonna go into the stance to see if he can try and survive this, but without a flash and without a hope, he cannot survive. Breathe gets the 1v1.
What's he doing there? What was the plan there, buddy? Like,
don't know.
He had a ward to ward hop back towards his turret. Unless he thought he was getting immediatally ganked by
He might have thought Vi was on the other side of that.
Just go back to your turret. There was no one on the side of the map. I think blowing his flash ult, not feeling great from there. So RNG, they find themselves at gold lead. They find themselves with a Herald on the table too. They did give up both sets of the Grubs as well. Have got themselves 2 dragons and kind of trade for the early game objectives at least.
Dragons in. RNG will have a chem rift. Unfortunate for them, it's not the greatest in the rifts or the soul department, but right now we are seeing just kind of first full items being things. Actually curious to know as well, Leaf going for that full lethality. It had kind of been finding its way into the meta before we hit the 14.1 patch, but now it looks like it is the go-to, especially considering this is the first time we've seen it in LPL.
We did see some Cyclo Sword Jhin for the Energized alongside the fleet. We saw some of that. So there are some, and there are some things as well you kind of like kind of going the difference between crits as well. Storm Razor obviously gives crit, and then you can go for the Energized, and then you can also kind of bridge the distance between the two of them.
They want to double
flash
down
this time, folks.
Yep, no flash, but he should have a leap strike, and he does indeed. They're going to get the TP in. He's going to try and survive as long as he possibly can. Here comes the Azir. There's a lot of damage going in. A flash into the double knockback, but nobody's underneath the turret. They can use the Q and the all-out. He went straight into his death, and guess what? KSante still busted.
Oh, gosh. Fisher with a fishy play. That one is not working out. He is 0-2, and despite having a very good debut in Game 1, it's the first time as a full starting member in the LPL. That one just kind of sucked, folks. It was a fairly good response time. Teleports as soon as the dive looks like it's there. It's just not quite early enough, even then. Now Breathe is 3-0, despite us singing all of the praises of Allah in Game 1. Breathe, with the accepted answer into the Jax, is doing a very fine job putting Allah into difficult positions. He takes a full turret in the picture-in-picture. Thank you for showing us their production. And this is going to be an issue now, because if the KSante can stop the Jax from being a threat himself, he's not going to be that tanky. He's not going to be able to do, you know, the whole 1v9 thing he did last game. And KSante will be able to a very strong front line and block up stuff like the Maokai, which is core to EDG's team fight later, but also be a damage threat himself.
It was just really good timing coming out here from RNG as well, because most people, most teams, especially EDG, were probably thinking, yeah, RNG are going to be setting up around the dragon. It was 40 seconds away from spawning. That's where Wei is going to be. Wei decides, no, I'm going to pass towards top lane, because if I kill you, maybe get the teleport out, but probably not looking for that. I'm still going to have time to rotate down towards that bot side, so it's a free play. They get themselves on the Chem Soul point. They have 5 minutes until they have that soul. This is good from RNG. They are ahead on gold, they're ahead on objectives, and they are ahead in this game. I will say, my small little caveat on that, is that EDG still have the 6 grubs, so if there becomes a small fight, it can snowball quite exponentially.
But you gotta be able to hit towers. And that's the one problem I have with it, because I look at that and I think, yes, awesome if Allah were ahead or Fisher was safe in the side lane. That's not the case. I don't even think Leaves was sat on the turrets for most of his game too. So I look at this now and I think EDG, yes, you've traded dragons for grubs, but this is the problem, say, I mean, G2 versus Rogue was a situation like this where they tried to go towards smoke and mirrors, they couldn't make the most of it. T1 had a game against Gen G like this too, and suddenly RNG pushing the tempo further and further forwards, forcing mid lane, forcing a response. EDG aren't going to be able to use these grubs anywhere useful.
That's a very good point, and they're going to take down that mid turret, big turret to take down.
I thought of it myself.
No problem, man. Glad you feel that way. But yeah, and now Allah is just being bullied. They need to guess which one he's in. Never mind, they don't need to guess anymore. Oh, I think he would have had it. I think he would have had it. He just kind of juked himself, to be perfectly honest. Now he's going to be in a lot of trouble. They're going to throw Ming down here, but yeah, Ming wasn't even needed. That is an easy rotation there. And EDG, this is just very unfortunate rotations coming out. They're not really respecting the fact that RNG can just be very quick around the map.
And serious credit to RNG. You know, Ala's Jax is very noteworthy.
Yep.
You know, we called it out in game 1 and from last year as well. Game 1 to game 2, this pick has been very well answered. Now, if this does go to a game 3 with the lead, you know, it's definitely on the table. EDG will have to ask themselves the question of, well, we tried blind picking the Jax. Does that affect our draft for game 3?
Does it affect how you prioritize? The Varus has been very good at just kind of keeping everyone at bay. You can see with the damage there. Little things like that that you kind of come back to and see where you're able to try and bring this draft if it does go to that game 3.
Also worth noting as well, so some of the itemization for top lane has been different from what we've seen in the rest of the world. So we talked about Titanic Hydra Jax in the last game, and of course it ended up being Triforce into Sundered Sky. Same for the KSante. This isn't going to be the Koenig Rooken and the Frozen Heart for the very cheap and effective 2-item spike. It is Iceborne Gauntlet, and it is the Jax show. So it's much more about extended fights with a higher emphasis on kind of like the extended team fight value. And I am interested to see now if Breathe will be able to be, you know, that sole frontliner. Because I mean, the Vi and the Nautilus kind of half job that. But I'm interested to see now how tanky this KSante is going to get and how much of an issue that's going to be for EDG before they reach enough items.
Some decent scaling available for EDG, so they let this game go long enough. They should be able to at least bring it back ever so slightly. Jiejie just smiting down his wolf camp, saying, "Look, I get it. You're all top lane, but I'm still getting my little bit of gold." He gets up to 2 items. That would be great. We finally get to see full
which one
spawn
is
to
it?
Baron. I really hate the hands. I don't like the hands at all.
So the reason for them is that, so it's the territorial, Jiejie, you're good? Yeah, he's okay. But like the territorial balance uses the hands to grab you as a special attack and pull it towards you.
Very not cool. But Tangyuan misses the shuriken flip, gonna have to use his ultimate to try and maybe make this one out, but they've got a vision on him because of the scryers. He's gonna go over the wall, and you would imagine he's gonna try and flash as well. No, gets time to get the shuriken flip. Will not lose himself a summoner, just his ultimate great escape from Tangyuan.
I know it looks a little awkward with the Jhin W being punted out of by the Bramble Smash. I think he was just out of range. It's kind of hard to reach that in the right kind of timing, so I'm not going to blame too much Jiejie and Lee for miscoordinating that one. But Tangyuan, he loses his ult for that, but that's about it. Now, Ala is in a bit of trouble. Wade's here, and Ala looks like he's heading towards 0-4.
Yep. Well, he went from 0 deaths in game 1 to 4 deaths in game number 2. So this is not what you need to be happening. Again, it does feel like it's just unnecessary. It's unforced mistakes. It's unforced errors that are really costing EDG right now, because if he just backs away, just lets the wave push in, he doesn't lose anything, they don't gain anything, and they don't gain presence. Now, they're going to get a full push in mid, full push in bot, and top as well.
You know how some players, the community, have memes for when they're playing well and playing badly? If we have Ala playing badly, is it like beer? I say that because I don't like it.
I was going to say, I was like, is that because you don't? Well, I mean, ale is kind of a beer.
Oh,
yeah,
that's kind of sad. It's not as clever as I thought it was.
Beer is more just an overarching term for that kind of alcoholic beverage,
Gosh.
I believe. I could be completely wrong. There's someone out there just putting at me like that's
someone out there is gonna care an awful lot about what that just said. But either way, we now have a very early soul point being potentially converted into soul by RNG. Only 22 minutes in. EDG, I don't think they have the items to fight for this one, but we'll definitely find that out soon enough.
Leave is very isolated right now, but they know Tangyuan and, of course, Way are there. Here we go. They go for the hook. They do get an immediate flash ult away by Fisher, who's trying to go in. There's going to be the Pop Blossom to stop anyone from going in. They're trying to get the 4th shot off. Tangyuan, though, jumping in, and this is all RNG all the time. EDG just can't do anything. It's an ace. It's a clean one at that, and this game is basically over.
That it is clean ace. EDG just didn't have the items. Yes, they end up having no second item on AD carry in mid lane. It's just not enough. RNG, they played really, really well around top lane matchup, around this Vi as well. Way on this Vi, doing a really good job. Again, continually showing why this is one of the champions he is best known for. Looks like they can convert this into a Baron. I don't think there can even be a contest from that. I don't think there's a teleport available, and even if they were, probably is just sending himself into the slaughterhouse to do so.
And yeah, I mean, Ming just finding the right target at the right time. Forced out the ult, the flash, everything for Fisher, which means that when he finds the hook again, it's a very easy kill. Tangyuan having a pure target there onto the Jhin means that Leave just cannot be involved in that fight. It's a Youmuu's into an Infinity Edge. It's a build. It's a build for sure, but I mean, they're so far behind now at this point now. It's 8,000 gold, it's a Chem Soul, the Baron has just been taken. RNG are going to just walk away with this game.
Yeah, it's many seasons past since you could hit full health targets with a Jhin and still damage them with your ultimate. You have to really be comboing onto something else and using the execute portion damage of it to get value out of it. The problem is when you start opening those curtains, it just puts a target for where you are. Tangyuan runs straight at him, shuts him down, and RNG, if they weren't already in a dominant position and EDG were looking to hang on and look for item breakpoints to come back, it has gotten that much worse. I feel like discretion would have been the better part of Valor in that case. Let that dragon go. It's just a Chemtech Soul. Don't give over the free gold. That's exactly what they've done now. And EDG, we talked about this in a couple of earlier games in the day too. Feels like they are very much feeling about Game 3, looking how they can bounce back from this.
Look, I wouldn't have day number 1 going anywhere except 6 games. That's what I needed today to make sure that we were absolutely set to our expectations of the LPL starting here in 2024 spring. But of course, day 1, it always has a couple of surprises. EDG versus RNG, not having anything left in reserve between these two guys, and Ala not going to flash away, not going to jump away. He knows that there's no real threat to his life for the moment, but there's no real contest to stop them.
Wei is a higher level than Ala.
Yes, he is.
He's level 40 to level 13. Breathe is 3 levels up on the Jags.
So is Vampire.
What? What's? Oh my word! His own support. Is that? No. That's gotta be. That's gotta be the bug from the thing.
Yes, it's the bug from the thing. But no. Now we see Tangyuan going in, looking for a bit more, and he gets it. Even has a little bit of a snack just at the end to make sure. But they have full vision on him, and they want to kill him. Everything has been used, and a shutdown comes down. But I mean, it's a little bit of a constellation prize, not constellation. That's about the stars, and because your stars, the star is shining brightly for RNG, as they are just going to take that little fight and go, cool. Well, we still get everything else.
EDG, look to the stars for an answer. And does the stars just spell out try again next time?
Get wrecked. But yeah, there's nothing stopping this push. You've used everything to kill off the Akali. And now, there's just not really a lot to stop this. Look at the damage, there is none! That's just Wei going in and nobody able to stop him do anything!
Wei just kind of,
where's Fisher gone?
He's doing his own thing, man! He's set sail, he's in international waters, he wants no part of this!
I mean, I get it, you're not going to be able to probably defend it anyway, but I don't know if that's going to be really that worth it. Now we're looking at Baron off in 10 seconds, we got Elder in 2 minutes 30, probably going to sync up very well with Baron. This is RNG's game to lose. Yeah, this is sort of all over except the, the ceremony, but the end of that. You've got Soul in this as well, so as soon as he drops below that half HP, Tangyuan gets the extra damage reduction from that, which actually comes in pretty important here. Maybe you could have even died at that point. It was pretty close margins. One of the few times that Chemtech Soul has value. Of course, he gets shut down after this point either way. They cost them, what, 3 ultimates and a flash or something like that to finally take him down and get that shutdown, but I'm sure that's, well, even then, it's all pretty much the best news they've had all game. This is not probably the best news of that game. They're probably going to lose another kill. Yeah. It's a little sad. It's a little sad, but EDG, sadly, not going to be able to wriggle themselves out of this one, you would imagine. They are very far behind, and they don't really have an answer for the shields, the heals, the magic damage shields, everything. Like, they don't do damage to anyone on RNG. And I did hear that lobster fishing is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world. Maybe that's what Fish is doing this game. You're going to run out of your quota very quickly on this season if you're going with these Fisher jokes. I'm telling you, I'm being honest, you're going to run out of your quota.
I thought I'd get them in early. Just make sure I claim them,
Claim the Fisher joke. Because no way any of us are going to make any more Fisher puns or anything like that. But yeah, this is just a formality at this point. RNG taking that first game fairly personally.
Can I use the garlic joke here now as well? Is that wasting too much of that? What's happening there? This one's not looking any better itself. Burning the tree down.
Yep, getting everything and anything they want as RNG fight back in this series and put themselves to a 1-1 scoreline. EDG didn't really have a hope at any point of this game. It just felt like a constant downward spiral for them. And the game won't be over just yet, but I do think that we are going to see the KSante just go back, TP back in, and then the end of the game.
think that's exactly what's going to happen. Felt like EDG put a lot of value on getting this Jax into the game. They were nullified, and poor Jiejie had no platform to play off of. They got one last hurrah.
They do indeed, but yeah, it's too far behind. The pop blossom was nice, but EDG just can't keep it together. That's going to be a nice and easy little finish with Tangyuan. We mentioned the Akali earlier. It is something that Tangyuan is very well versed in, but right now it's Ala just playing keep away. But yeah, he ain't gonna be smiling no more. That is a pretty definitive loss going on to EDG. 0-7 for Ala's Jax. And guess what? You can't blind pick this anymore. That is a pocket pick in a situation from now on for you.
Yep, that was a draft too far from EDG. And, you know, after game one, you'd be very, very believing in that
Yes,
test. You'd be very confident in it.
absolutely.
Confidence, that's the word for it. But